have this down pat.
No, it's all good.
Competition, kind of makes you a little sloppy. Anyway, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of College and Career Pathways, where every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m. we provide you with information on various colleges and universities, financial aid resources, technical schools, training programs, skilled trade professions, employment opportunities, career readiness skills, and career exploration, all designed to help you make the best career decisions possible. I'm Toni Cureton, your host, and today we will be speaking with David Lucas from Kettering University. Welcome, David. We're so glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
Good deal.
I love the virtual environment. These work.
Oh my God, absolutely. Is it not a game changer?
It really is. It really is. So I will go ahead and jump into this presentation here. So, hey everybody, my name is David Lucas, and I'm an Assistant Director of Admissions here at Kettering University. Now, why that might be important to you, because I'm actually a guy who lets you into college. So you probably do need to know me. Now, if you're sitting there wondering, okay, who's Kettering University? Never heard of it before. I'm actually willing to bet anyone listening to this presentation right now, $1 million each, you actually know who we are just by a different name. Now, don't take that bet because I want to retire and you will definitely lose. Now, here's how this works. If you've ever heard of this small little company, it's been around for about 100 years. They make Cadillacs called General Motors. Yes, this institution used to be called General Motors Institute. So for about 80 years, this was GM's private training grounds. Anybody who wanted to go into automotive engineering of any kind, this is where he came to school. Now in the mid-90s, GM got out of higher education and we named the university after Charles Kettering, who's their leading patent holder. Now, we are an elite engineering school, and I have to stress this. We do mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, computer engineering, chemical engineering, computer science, engineering physics. If it ends in engineering, chances are we do it. We do have a management program here. Students can come here for pre-med. Go figure that engineers want to be surgeons. Who knew? But the cool thing about this university is the next thing I'm going to say. So I just need everybody dial in right here. This is the only school in the nation, starting a student's freshman year, all students work in their field of study for full-time pay.
Wow.
Now that I've got everybody's attention, if all of us are fans of money, like owning things, buying things, yeah. Absolutely. This is why students want to come to school here, because you literally work full-time in your career field as you go to college. Now, someone's probably thinking, okay, well, Mr. Lucas, that sounds a little cray. I'm going to go to school full-time and work full-time. That's a lot. And you would be right if you did that here, but you don't, because here's what we do. Students go to school here for a 3-month academic window. Classes are 3 months. Matter of fact, my kids right now are actually getting out of school next week. It's exam week. They're done with school. After that 3 months, you take your exams, then you go to work full-time as an engineer for 3 months. Wow. 3 months, full-time pay, 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday. On Fridays, you get this lovely thing called direct deposit. It's great. After that 3 months at work, you go back to campus, 3 more months in the classroom, take your exams, head right back to that same employer, 3 more months full-time work. So our students will do that rotation on and off for 4.5 years. Once you graduate, you'll get your shiny piece of paper, which every kid who graduates college gets the shiny piece of paper. But you will also have a resume with 2.5 years of work experience on it, which is what makes our school unique. So when my students graduate, they already have full-time jobs because they've already been working for the past half decade. So I usually tell my students like this. In an example, let's say somebody out there right now wants to be a mechanical engineer, electrical engineer. Okay, you tell me that. Great, you come to Kettering, I'm gonna make you one right now. Our students actually get full-time jobs before they graduate high school. So we had our big job fair was actually this week. It was Monday. It was Monday of this week. So my high school seniors came to campus virtually and interviewed for their full-time jobs. Before spring break, most of them will have full-time jobs already signed.
Wow.
So their last couple of months of high school are like, hey, I'm an engineer at Ford. Can't wait to graduate high school because you already have a full-time job. You hire in at Ford at 18. Well, play this out. Let's say you work there for the next 4.5 years. Who's hiring you? Probably Ford. They've been training you for 4.5 years. They've been paying and investing in you. Why would they let you go work for GM?
Yeah.
But the one thing I tell all my students, how much leveraging power now do you have with GM? Because you've been a mechanical engineer at Ford for the last 4.5 years.
Wow.
They're looking at your resume and they're like, how'd you make it over there?
Wow.
Time? Because we can match that or beat it. And we have students who get to their senior years, they can literally hedge companies against each other because our kids have experience, which is the only thing that matters in the real world. So I love this university. I've been recruiting here for 6 years now. My alma mater, I went to a Big Ten university here in the state of Michigan. I'll just say this color scheme hurts me to wear every day. Pretty easy to figure out where I went to school. But the reason I don't recruit for my alma mater, and it's a great school, but when me and my friends graduated, we didn't have jobs. I will never forget walking across the commencement stage, moving my tassel, and I sat back down with my roommates and I was like, oh, okay, so what do we do now? Because none of us were employed. We went out to dinner that night with our families, had a great time, got back to the apartment. I'm like, so we just pack and go home? And that's what we had to do. It took me 3 months out of college before I even got my first interview for a job. When I finally got employed, it was 2 weeks at that job and I realized, this is what I do? This is terrible and I don't like this. This is nothing like what my classes were. I liked my classes in college and I was really good at them. It doesn't mean it translates to the real world that way. Work, I was like, great. Because had I known my major ended me up here, yeah, I wouldn't do this. I would have done something else. That's why I like Kettering. Usually when I talk to students, I go into classrooms and I'll ask, hey, what's everybody want to be? Hands go up. I want to be a surgeon. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a mechanical engineer. I want to be a computer engineer. After everybody says it, the first question I ask is, well, how do you know? Because to date, none of you have done that. Think you want to do that. Kettering, I'm going to make you that job. So if you tell you want to be an electrical engineer, go do it. Go see if you actually like it. Go to work, they start doing it like, yeah, I mean, this is cool. I could do this. And one day you're there and you're like, what do you do? Like, that's cool. Oh, you're an industrial engineer? I've never seen that before. Well, here's the cool part about that. You didn't know about that job until I got you this job. That got you this job. There's so many careers you guys don't even know exist. Go to work. You might be exposed to another career and you're like, that's it. That's what I actually want to do. You come back to campus. Hey, Mr. Lucas, I need to be an industrial engineer. Bam, you're an industrial engineer. Go back. You go work in that field. Beauty is by the time our students get to their junior, senior year, they're actually in the jobs they want.
Wow.
You're in the job you want. Because if you want that job, you would leave and change your major. That's the beauty of the school. My students know what they want to do. And that's what matters to me because I don't want any student to do the same mistakes that I did. Where I graduated and like most adults in America are working outside of their degree. They hated what their degree did, but they didn't know. Because once you graduate and you go into the real world, too late. You can't change your major once you graduated college. Now you're paying for more education to get trained in something else.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't it have been great to figure this out when you were 17, 18, 19?
Yeah.
So I love this university. It's the only university I will recruit for. My first two, I'm kind of in between years right now, where my first group of kids came out last summer, fall, and my second group are getting ready to come out this spring, summer. It's so cool to actually talk to my students. And it sounds like a Disney movie. It really does. I had a dad send me a voicemail just this week he's one of my kids who I first recruited 4 years ago. And the dad left me a voicemail thanking me of how much I touched his kid's life and changed his entire trajectory. As this kid's getting ready to graduate from Kettering, already has a full-time job, like, this works. It's the only reason I'm here.
Wow.
Only reason I like sharing this message, because there's so many kids that think college is just a box.
Yeah.
It's always just been this box and you just go and do this. No, there are other ways. So when I talk to all my seniors, I always say, you're going to have one of two choices your senior year. You can choose school A, which is any school not named Kettering. And for the next 4 years, you're about to sit in lecture hall.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's it. History, arts and humanities, poetry, mixing a math and science class, lecture hall,
Mhm.
talking at you all the time.
Mhm.
Or wait for it. You come
Aw,
to Kettering, I make you an engineer scientist right now. You get paid to actually go to work and be an engineer right now. Lecture hall, get paid to be an engineer. You tell me what you want to do. Most of my students, I want to be an engineer. This is what I want to do. I can get my hands dirty like right now and get into it. And I will tell you, we've got students who work in over 400 companies all over the US and around the world. So a lot of kids who are interested in Kettering think, well, what if I didn't want to work in auto? You don't have to work in auto. Now, a lot of our kids want to, because face it, we used to be GM, kind of our thing. But I've got kids who build toys for Fisher Price. I've got kids who work for nuclear energy firms like Argonne National Labs doing chemical engineering, nuclear engineering. I've got kids who work out for NASA and SpaceX out in California. I've got kids at Solar City, they're doing green energy. I've got kids, one of my kids works for Easton. She actually developed a new bat because she was a softball player when she was growing up, and she ended up working for Easton, and that's what she's doing. I've got kids who work at NASCAR. I've got kids anywhere you name it, you can work there. And when you're on your co-ops, understand these are real jobs. You're not going to be getting somebody coffee or, hey, can you make some copies over there? No, you are literally working on a team of engineers. I've got kids who've gotten patents during their sophomore year of college. So their names are at the US Patents Office. They have a patent. Now think, if you land a patent during your sophomore or junior year, how many companies are probably interested in you when you graduate?
Wow.
You're already developing things. These
Wow.
like will take you right now. And that's the beauty of the school. When students are on their co-op terms, it's a true respite from school. So I will say, the one thing about this university is somebody might be thinking about it right now. Like, all right, Mr. Lucas, let me get this straight. I apply to Kettering, I get accepted, I get a job before I graduate high school. I start working full-time, get paid for it, start classes in my major immediately. Okay, there's got to be a catch. And you'd be right. If you ever hear something that sounds too good to be true, there probably is a catch. And there's no exception. There's a catch here. This school is hard. Cannot stress that enough. We're going to push our students to the breaking point every single semester, but it's okay. We have a therapist on duty. She's lovely. Go see her. She'll talk you down off the ledge. But here's the beauty of this. You're only in school for 3 months. It's 3-month swings. Classes start, midterms, class ends. That's it. You go to work. There's no homework on your work terms. You're literally at work 9 to 5. At 5 o'clock, you get out and you just want to chill. You can, you're an adult. There's no homework then. That's a respite from school. And after that 3 months, you come back to campus, it's back in the grind. I need you in your books.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to have to struggle here. You're on the struggle bus when you come to the school, just letting you know. But we have every system in place here to help our students.
Mm-hmm.
Not doing it alone. Now, I will tell you, it's not for the faint of heart, but this school is not hard to get into. All my students, you just need to have a 3.0 average GPA to get into the school. If you've got a 3.0, for my kids who are in New York or New Jersey, you're in percentages, so you need to have about 85% or higher. If you've got that, you can get accepted to the school. Now, for last year, this year, and next year, we're waiving SAT and ACT requirements. So students don't even have to take those tests. And frankly, I'm kind of happy about that. I don't like standardized testing.
Mm-hmm.
You happen to take the test, I'll look at it. But if you bombed it, I don't care. If you did good on it, maybe I give you extra scholarship money, but you don't have to take it. The main thing is I need to know you're ready for academic learning here. And we see that by your GPA. So as long as you're over a 3-point, you're probably getting into the school. Our acceptance rate's around 70%. So again, getting in is not hard. The main thing is you have to know what you want to do. Right now, I've got 8 engineering majors and business management. It's pretty limited. You have to know, hey, I do like math and science. Okay, you're probably going to be pretty good here. So for some students who might listen to this, if you think you want to be a history teacher, I can't help you. This would not be your school. It's okay. There are other schools for you. But if you know you like math, science, and money, yeah, right here, this is a really good school for you. And you can start getting paid coming right out of high school. So I love it. I can't stress this enough. For all of my students, you can easily get in touch with me. My email address is super simple. It's just D as in David, LUCAS@kettering.edu. You can email me anytime. I always check my emails. Any questions, even if you're thinking, hey, I don't know if Kettering is the right fit for me. I'm looking and I'm interested in this. I probably know a college that whatever you're interested in, you need to start considering. Or if anything, helping you think about the thought process of how you choose a college, because there's a lot that goes into it. It is the most important decision you make in your adult life, so take it seriously. But again, if you think for a second that engineering might be your thing, please give us a look, because this university will change your life.
Good deal.
That's my presentation. Does anybody have any questions about anything I said so far?
You guys got any questions?
What's the cost? I know, I mean, I don't know if I missed that or what.
So good question. The cost of this university. I hope everybody is sitting down because I don't have defibrillators. I can't get to you right now. We have 2 fees on campus. We have tuition, we have room and board. There's no other fees here. So we make this very easy for parents. Right now, our tuition, room and board is set around $50,000 per year. And yes, I said 50. Now understand, no one pays $50,000 a year to go to school here. Now, if your parents are able to pay $50,000 a year, please adopt. I have no siblings and I want in your family if you've got it like that, just letting you know. The average family is looking to spend around $25,000 a year. Now you're thinking, it's like, well, you just said it was 50. How are we getting it down to 25? Scholarships. We give out a lot of scholarship money here. So scholarships will range anywhere between $5,000 to $20,000 a year. Just coming out of high school, just because you're a rock star. So the smarter you are, the more money we pay you. On top of that, remember, you have a full-time job too. You can actually use your work earnings to help subsidize the cost of your school, which is kind of nice. And we've got it set up where you don't have to use all of that money, but you can still live a little, but you can save a good chunk to put toward tuition. Now, I will tell you, this school is still it's going to tax you for that first year or 2. But here's the beauty of what we do. We have a fixed rate tuition here, meaning the second you register for your first class as a freshman, your rate of tuition is frozen for 5 years. It doesn't move at all, not even for inflation. It's completely fixed. So parents are going to receive 2 bills, fall bill and winter bill. They never change. Same bill every year. Now, what does change is your student's income, because our students, as they rank up in class standing, get pay raises at their employers. Well, if your costs are fixed, but your income keeps going up every year, by the time students get to their junior, senior years, they can pay a greater portion of their tuition because they're just making more money. So there's nothing, literally, the catch, you just gotta be ready for it. This school is hard. And I will tell you, I just completed my master's degree in November. This school is hard. Like it's just a difficult school, but every system is in place. Peer tutoring is a huge thing here. All of our professors, though, actually have mandatory office hours, and they actually will meet with students. They actually love when students show up. And you don't have to do anything by yourself here. So Kettering is actually founded on a groupthink philosophy, pretty much like how it is in the engineering world. When you're at work, there are no tasks that are assigned to just you. It's assigned to your team. They don't care how you guys get it, as long as you have that information right, the next day. So all of our students actually study in groups. The only thing that students will do here by themselves, take your exams and write your thesis. That's it. Everything else, all group study. And we've actually engineered campus to do that. So we actually have D spaces, as we call them on campus. They're floor to ceiling whiteboard rooms. Students order pizzas, go in there. Hey, we're going over chemistry and calc tonight. And you just sit and just go to town. That's how our whole campus is set up. Matter of fact, we're building a brand new $80 million building as we speak. Our campus is a complete dust bowl right now. And it's going to be a new learning commons. The whole place is like a gigantic D space. That's how we do things here. We're trying to get students to change how they think. Let's see, are you under any obligations to the companies you work for other while you're in school? No, no obligation. And you can change companies at any time. So here's a cool thing about it. So every year, and again, since I've been here for 6 years, I've had students who want to go to the big three, GM, Ford, Chrysler. That's just what kids want to do. And those companies do pay very well. So I might have a student who says, hey, I want to be a mechanical engineer. I want to go to GM. Okay, go to GM. You get your job, you interview, you love it, great. They start working and they realize the team they're on, they might be on a team of 1,000 engineers, which means you're a pretty small cog in that machine. And then you're like, you know, I've got some other friends, they work for these tier 1 suppliers that are a lot smaller companies, but still in automotive. My friend, he's on a team of 20 engineers. He's doing so much more because he has to. And so I have kids who leave GM to go to smaller companies so they can do more. And then vice versa. I got kids who go to smaller companies and are like, whoa, they are asking me to do way too much. I'd rather work for a bigger company where I can kind of fit in and then guide my time out and really see what I want. Both answers are right. It just depends on the student, but you're in no obligation to stay at that company. So we have students who start at one company and after a couple of years, they're like, you know what? I thought I wanted to be in auto. I think I want to go into aeronautics. I want to go work for SpaceX. Okay, if that's what you want to do, interview at SpaceX, go have it, have at it. We have other kids who are like, you know, I want to think in chemical engineering. I was working for DuPont and I was like, you know, actually I want to go into safety seat systems or airbag or restraint systems. I'm going to go work for this other company. Okay, if that's what you want to do. The goal is you're going to know what you want to do, because if you didn't like your job, you change it. And that's the one thing. That's, like I said, it's the one reason I recruit here. I don't want students to do what I did. Because I will tell you, I haven't used my degree. I was a finance major. I haven't used my degree in almost 20 years. And I did banking for a long time. I hated every second of it. I will never use my degree again. Why do I have this degree? It didn't help me. So do students have to interview for the positions? Yes, you do interview. So we have a job fair every year in March. We actually do 3 job fairs on campus, one in March, one in August, and one in October. The one in March is for incoming freshmen. So students who are high schools and seniors will do the March fair. So my March fair literally just happened this week. So all the high school seniors from all over the US were able to log in. We're doing the fair virtually right now, just because COVID has ruined everything. But we're doing the fair virtually. And it actually works out pretty good, because now my kids from California and New York don't have to try to fly to campus to do this in person. They can do it from their own homes, which is kind of cool. You literally go in to an auditorium that we've set up online. We've got a couple of vendors that actually do our online fairs for us. And you literally stand in line just like you would, and you can click on their booth and learn things about the company and wait for your interview to come up. And then you do your interview. You might interview with 4, 5, 6, 15 companies. And over the next 2 to 3 weeks, you'll start getting job offers. And then you decide the company that's best for you. If students get multiple job offers, yeah, you kind of get to weigh it out. I tell my students, you kind of become the new LeBron James. You get to decide where you're taking your talents to. Because if you've got 3 companies who are interested in you, you are now picking where you go work. Mm-hmm. Most adults have never been in that position in their life, let alone a 17-year-old. Mm-hmm. Kids every year who are like, oh, this job's in North Carolina? No. Okay, these 2 jobs are kind of in my hometown. This was $20 an hour. This was $15. But I like the stuff I'd be doing over here. This just might be chasing a check. You have to weigh it out. What do you want? Maybe there's some benefits, that $15 an hour job. It's only $15 up front, but maybe they do profit sharing. And you're like, oh, maybe there's a 401k. Oh, maybe this 15 is looking a little bit better. So, but you get to make that choice. And that is the cool part. I did just see another question pop up in the chat. Are all of our classes online? No. So because we're a small university, we've been teaching in person since last year, July. Don't tell anybody. Our secret. So we did shut down in April, May, and June. So our spring semester of 2020, because the world ended in March and we were like, shutting it down. We did online classes for those 3 months. But because of how we teach, our students need to be in labs. And we teach in labs. We actually don't do lecture halls here. We only have 5 lecture halls on campus. Like, we just don't teach in lecture halls. And our largest lecture hall has 110 people. The only time it's full is if we have a guest speaker. That's the auditorium we use for a guest speaker. We don't teach that way. Our kids are in labs. And because our class sizes are so small anyway, average class size is between 14 to 17 students, we could space our kids out. So we've been teaching in person ever since July. Now, to help ease everybody's fears, we did give students a hybrid option. So some kids who didn't want to move to campus, they were a little scared about it, or their parents may have been some compromised. Yes, you can do it online if you want to, but the majority of our students actually want to be in class. So we have that option. So it makes it nice because when the big schools like Michigan and Michigan State went 100% online, we're like, oh, do you want in-person instruction? Because we're doing it. And so we've had so many kids now applying because they're like, I don't want to learn on a computer screen. So yeah, it actually works to our advantage. And the training that students get here, it's a lot more, I guess, real. For a lot of students, depending on the high schools they come out of, they liked having a relationship with their teacher. They liked the fact that their teacher actually knew who they were, or they were on, maybe they were the coach of their basketball team too, or there is a bond there. That's how our teachers are here. You're not a number at the school. And I will tell you, I had lecture halls at my alma mater that were 400 to 500 students deep. I think in my entire tenure, I knew 2 of my professors in college. 2. And they were 2 of my senior year professors. That was it. I never even met my other professors, especially my first 2 years. They were just a figurehead at the front of the classroom. I was like, oh yeah. Because if you ever emailed them for help, you got a TA. You never got the teacher. Mm-hmm. Don't do that here. Matter of fact, we don't even have TAs on campus. There's no teaching assistants. Mm-hmm. It's only professors. So every time you go to a class, you have a professor. And 85% of our faculty have their PhDs. So it's not like we have like young kids coming in like, hey, I'm here to teach Cal too. No, we have professors who've actually been in industry and have come back to teach, and they can instruct their classrooms to be like, I'm telling you guys to do it this way, because you get in the real world, this is what they're going to expect you to know how to do. Right. So everything is different here. There truly is no other university like this. Now, some of you might be thinking, it's like, okay, well, I've heard of other schools that have a co-op program. Drexel University has one, RIT in New York, Cincinnati University. Yes, you're not wrong. There are other colleges that have co-op programs. Here's the cool part. They all model them after us. So think about that. If all these other schools are modeling their programs after ours, yeah, we're really good at this. We've been doing it for 101 years, and no program gives their students as much experiences as we do. The max you can earn at the other schools that have co-op programs is about a year to a year and a half of professional work experience. And it might not even be in your major. Mm-hmm. So they got you a job, but was it in your degree? Our average students get 2.5 years. So when you come out, our students don't apply for entry-level positions because they've already been working for more than 2 years. And that's why our kids make so much upon graduation. So our average starting salary is almost $80,000 a year.
Oh my God.
And I've literally had kids who've outpaced their parents' earnings upon graduation. Wow. It's a life-altering school. My daughter is somewhere in the house. I think she's downstairs. She's 16. This is the only school daddy's paying for because this works. I don't want her to go to a traditional college because no, and again, there are other schools out there, and I know the school isn't for everybody. I'm not trying to say it is. But if you think you're interested in any of the majors that we do, there's no school that's going to prepare you better than we can. And again, the Disney stories I have, if I started telling you about some of my students, people think I'm lying. I'm not. I've got it locked and loaded. So many stories. It is just because it's so outlandish. One of my students who actually, I'll give you this one, and I'm only going to tell you half of it because the Disney level goes off the charts on the second half. But she's getting ready to graduate. This is her last week on campus. Exams are next week, so she's done. So I'm gonna cry because she's been one of my favorites. But she's an industrial engineer, and she hired in a UPS. UPS liked her so much that this last academic term that she's been in for January, February, March, they kept her on salary, full-time wages while in school.
Wow.
She's not even working. They're still paying her.
Wow.
Made her sign a contract in December. They're like, you're here.
Wow.
The second half of the story, not gonna even tell it because
Wow.
you know how much money this girl's about to make at 22 years old. I'm like, oh.
Wow.
Get your counselor, 16 and a half, 34, 35.
I know.
So I love this university. And I think everybody needs to know about this because once you know that this exists, it's could change your life. So
I have to ask you a crazy question, but do you know, oh boy, Alana D'Alessandro? Alana D'Alessandro. She was one of my former students, and I'm pretty sure she got a full scholarship to Kettering. She went on to law school.
I'm trying to think. That name doesn't sound familiar, but
I think she was there 4 or 5 years. I'm not sure. Kettering 4 or 5 years, but.
Do you know what year she started here?
Oh, it's probably been, I don't know what year she started, but I think she graduated maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
So I might know of her. She wouldn't have been one of the students I recruited. So for all the students who I know I recruited, there are very few names I ever forget because I literally care about my students. So much so that my students, when I recruit them my senior year, they actually get my personal cell number, like legit. I'm the only person on staff who does that, but my students have access to me. So if I recruited her, I would know her. So she definitely had to be here before me. So I probably know of her. I've probably seen her at one point. So
hopefully I'll send you some more. Tony, will you make sure you send me his email? I didn't get to write it down. I know it's DL something.
No problem.
Yeah.
David, I wanted to ask, okay, so it's a 3-month work, 3-month classroom.
Correct.
So is that from September to September or September to June?
So here's the fun thing about this. So our school, actually, the first academic term here starts in July.
Oh.
Which, depending on the region, so my Michigan kids, it's not a factor. New York, New Jersey, and Cali, because of how the school year starts, most of those students graduate high school like the middle of June. Like that's when commencement is. Our campus opens the week after the 4th. So a lot of my kids come from the East and West Coast. They will come B section instead of coming A section because it's too hard to graduate. You have a week off and you're starting school again.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have our first academic term starts in July, which runs for July, August, September. And then our second term starts in October, which then goes October, November, December. Okay. It is possible that a lot of students who come A section will never know who the B section students are because they never cross paths. Mm-hmm. At graduation, you're like, B section, right? Because I don't know you. Because you never would have seen that person because one group's on campus while the other's at work, and then you've switched places. So, but it is cool. It does take a lot to get used to at first. I have a couple of my parents I was talking to last night. They're like, so you move every 3 months? I'm like, pack light. There's not a lot to bring here. And we do this, we set everything up for these students. Students live in the dorms their freshman year. Your dorm room comes standard. There's no roommates, which is great because I had roommates at college and that was terrible. There's no roommates. Everybody gets their own room. You've got your bed, your desk, your dresser, your fridge, microwave, and freezer all come standard in your room. Like come standard. Students need to bring their bedding, their toiletries, their clothes, and a laptop. That's it. There's nothing else really to bring. Students can bring cars to campus. I don't know why you'd need one because we've got an underground tunnel system. There's no need to actually drive on campus anywhere. And the only reason I can convince kids from California to come here is because I have tunnels underground because I'm like, there's no palm trees, just letting you know. But we'll keep you warm. But yeah, campus is pretty succinct. We're only 6 to 7 buildings. And the 7th actually will be the Learning Commons once it goes up. And that'll open in spring of 2022. So we're very excited about that. But yeah, it's great. I mean, everything is right there at a student's fingertips, everything they need to do. And when they decide to work, students can work anywhere. So a lot of my kids who come from Michigan, if they want to work in auto, most of them are coming from southeastern Michigan. So I'll hand map you. This area here, they want to stay in this area because that's where all the auto industry is. My kids coming from out of state, it depends on their interests. Now, a lot of kids coming from Southern California, even the Bay region, they all want to work in auto. They're going to be in Detroit. That's just what it happens. But I have other kids in Michigan who are like, well, I don't want to be in Michigan. I want to go see somewhere else. Okay. Talk to companies and see where their other locations are. Kids who work in Portland, Oregon. I've got kids in Portland, Maine. I've got kids in Texas. I've got kids in Arizona. I've had lots of kids in California. I've had kids in Florida. You can work internationally for your co-ops.
Really?
Yeah. So one of my students, matter of fact, Vittorio should be graduating here. He might graduate this summer actually, because he's in that first group of kids I pulled out. He works for Brimbro Brakes, which is an Italian brake manufacturer. Usually they're on high-end sports cars. So if you've ever seen a sports car from a side profile, all of your students have always seen this. There's red braking calipers.
Yeah.
Brimbro makes those. So that's kind of their trademark. Well, one of my students works for Brimbro. His sophomore year, his boss was like, you want to go to Italy? And he was like, me? He's like, yeah, you can do your next co-op term in Italy. We'll pay for you to go there. We'll pay for your apartment there and still pay you.
Wow.
Twist my arm? Sure. So he got to go work in Italy for 3 months. I had other kids who study abroad in Germany, because we do have a study abroad program, so students can study abroad in Europe. And then they had an international headquarters in London. He actually did his work term there too. So he went to Europe for 6 months.
Wow.
3 months in school and then just stayed there and did his work term. Yeah, I mean, you can do that. Students have so many options here and they get to chart their own course. And that's why I like this university, because other schools, you don't get to do that.
Yeah.
Things laid out for you. You're going to have this lecture, this lecture, this lecture. And here next year, you're going to have this lecture, this lecture. You don't get to choose anything. We're here. You actually have some say in what you do. You have some say. We have kids here who decide to double major, which does not cost anything extra here. Parents should know that. You can get 2 degrees. Why not? Because we don't charge you per credit hour here. We charge you per academic term you come to campus. I don't care how many credits you take. If you can handle it, God bless, go enjoy. You want to double major and be a computer engineer and computer science major? Go for it. And then when you go to your job, like you have that many more options of what you can do because you're playing both skill sets. So I can't stress it enough how amazing the school is. Students just have to be ready. That's the number one thing. You have to be ready for this. It is an accelerated program. So the one thing I will stress, students who are weighing out the other colleges, A or Kettering, let's say school A, let's say it's MIT. And actually I do have students. I've got a student right now I'm battling with MIT over. Let's say MIT. And let's say your freshman year, you're going to learn calculus. Yep. They're going to teach you calculus in about 15 to 16 weeks. If you choose to come to Kettering, we're going to teach you calculus as well, except we do it in 10 weeks. We don't cut anything out. So you've got to be ready for this.
Mm-hmm.
It is a hard university. And that's why we're looking for the best and brightest students.
Mm-hmm.
It is a grind. But when you come out the other side, those kids who went to MIT will end up reporting to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I actually have one of my tour guides who's getting ready to graduate. Alex is a senior right now. Yeah, he's got a story about that where he showed up to work and he has 3 graduates of very large universities. Michigan Tech, who is a big engineering school here in the state, U of M, who it's U of M, and MIT. These 3 kids graduated from college. Alex is a junior when this story happened. They showed up at his job and his boss says, "Can you train these 3? Because they don't know what they're doing."
Wow.
And he's the co-op student.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
These 3 have college degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, they don't know what they're doing. I need to train them. Is not to say that their education was bad, but Alex has already been working there for 2 years. He knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're reporting to a kid who's in college. This is why I tell students, you chart your own course. You pick this university here. Wherever your peers go, they can never catch you. They just can't. Your trajectory is too fast because you started working at 18 as an engineer when everybody else was just reading about it.
Right, right. David, during their co-op session, are the salaries discounted or lowered because they are in school, or is it a regular salary that a person who is qualified for the position would be receiving doing the same responsibilities?
So I will tell you the salaries are discounted in the fact that if GM is going to pay a co-op student, they're not going to pay a co-op student at the same rate they pay a full-term engineer.
Okay.
Going to do it at a discount. That's why they're hiring the co-op student.
Okay.
That being said, students who come in, if you're majoring in our top engineering degrees, which mechanical, electrical, computer engineering, computer science, we tell students you're going to make between $14 to $20 an hour.
Okay.
Which for the state of Michigan, large money.
Mm-hmm.
When I have to talk in New York, Jersey, and Cali, I always try to have to put it to a scale. $14 to $20 an hour in the state of Michigan is probably closer to $25 to $30 an hour in the bigger metropolis areas. And that's that student's money. So, I mean, I tell students all the time, if you're making $14 to $20 an hour, 40 hours a week for 6 months out of the year, pull out your iPhones, do the math. You can see exactly how much money you get to make. And that's your income, and you can divvy that up however you need to. But it goes up every single quarter or every single academic year of their class standing. So I have met kids who are making almost $30 an hour and they're still in college here. A lot depends on where you came in at.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the highest salaries I've ever heard, and I tell people don't hold on to this because I've had 2 students, 2 years, was 21, 3 years ago now. 3 years ago now, that came out of high school. One started at $22 an hour, one started at 25. Their freshman year.
Wow.
That's insane. I don't tell people that's probably not going to happen. You start above 20.
Mm-hmm.
That was their freshman salary. By the time these kids hit their junior and senior year salaries, those kids will be well over $30 an hour.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they get paid more when they graduate.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why I tell parents, if your kids get into these companies now, their trajectory. I mean, I usually tell my moms and dads, start looking at boats because your kids will be able to buy you one by the time they're done with college, and they can take care of themselves.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And COVID brought it up big time last year. So for my students who are on campus right now, when I was recruiting them last spring, before they were making their final college decision, I had a lot of parents asking me, and they were like, okay, we're weighing this out. I mean, Kettering does cost a little more. And I'm like, yeah, I understand. On the surface, we look expensive. But think about something. Your kid right now is a high school senior, correct? You're like, yeah. Okay, humor me. What if your kid was a college senior right now? Because here we are in April, unemployment's at 25%. The world just ended.
Yeah.
What are all these college graduates getting ready to do?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh gosh, I hadn't thought about that. Oh, I know you don't, because you have a high school senior. But if you had a college senior, trust me, that is the only thing you're thinking about.
Mhm.
My kids are thinking about who are getting ready to graduate from here? Nothing. They already have jobs. They already work for their companies. They're not stressed. Even during recessions, they're like, I'm already here in the company.
Yeah.
Even if I was let go, compared to another college student, I still have a full resume.
Yeah.
Hired first.
Mhm.
And I had some parent, after I told them that, they're like, where do we send the checks? This is the only place. And the last story I can share, and I'll make this super quick. I had a parent tell me one day, his kid actually, his second kid ended up coming here. When I met the second kid, he was his high school senior, and dad was like, he came to visit campus. He was like, wow, I really wish I'd have known about the school before I sent my oldest son off. And I was like, oh, well, what do you want to study? It's like computer science. I was like, did he not know about us? Because we're really good at that. He's like, well, he did, but he got a full ride offer from this other school. And I was like, and he stopped looking, right? Yep. And he took that offer. And I was like, all right, well, what's his GPA? He's like, he's a 3.8. I'm like, does he want to transfer? He's like, he's a senior. I'm like, well, that ship sailed. Okay. I was like, well, then why did you say you wish you'd have known about Kettering before you sent him to this other school? He's like, well, the thing is, he's getting ready to graduate. He doesn't have a job and he can't find one. And he's like, but you're talking to my other son and you're going to give him a job before he comes out of high school.
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
And I tell parents all the time, just because it's free doesn't mean it's better.
Yeah.
Because if you get a free education, and I do not, 16-year-old daughter, I understand as a parent, you have free education, run that. That's where you're going to school. You don't have to pay for it. But if your kid graduates and has to move home, did it matter that you didn't pay for it? Find work. And that spiral of depression for 3 months. I had a friend who was on the shelf for a year after college.
Wow.
Just can't find work, and you spiral out because no one wants you. You feel unvalued and unworth it. And you're like, why did I go to school? And you're end up working in Starbucks with a college degree.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. Nobody has to, because there's schools like this that exist. So
I'm sold. Where do I enroll?
it's like, I trust this is why I got my grad degree from here. My dad, I was supposed to come here. My dad was an engineer for GM, and I didn't listen to my parents, which was foolish. So I atone for my sins. I got my grad degree from here. My dad was like, took you long enough. I'm like, don't do it. But yeah, no, this degree changes lives. It really does. A degree from the school, kids never look back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an awesome program, David. Love it, love it, love it. When you have more questions?
Sorry, it took me a minute to get to the button. No, I'm good. Like
I
said,
thought
I wish.
I thought I might have lost you with the tuition. I was like,
Yeah, I wish I had
never
been.
know. I was like,
I'm
she's
just
like,
sorry
I'm
that
still
I
coming
didn't.
too.
I just wish I had known about this before. Better late than never, because I can send so many kids now that direction, you know. I just didn't know about it. Like I said, I have a student that got a scholarship to Kettering. She did do the travel, she did the schooling abroad. And I'm like, so this is why she chose Kettering, because she really could have went anywhere she wanted. She's a very academically talented student, of course, if she graduated from your program. And now I know why.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's a game changer, and we're doing some really big things right now. There's a lot of stuff I probably shouldn't say, but I'm gonna put it out there. We have a lot of programs right now geared toward minorities and female students. Game changer for the next 3 to 4 years. Game changer. if you know students who are even remotely interested and their grades are there, I need to know about them.
Well, here's my other concern though. What about, I know you can get it down to 25,000 a year, but what about that student that's academically talented, but just doesn't have the money?
So here's the thing. I work with all of my students, and this is why I know my students so well. So I can tell you about one of my kids who came from Western New York. His name is Oliver, and Oliver's getting ready to graduate right now too. And if you guys ever need to talk to his dad, he will sing my praises. I will send him your way because I've got dad's number still in my cell. But here's what happened. I met Oliver at his high school, told him about Kettering. It was a high school college fair. He's like, oh my gosh, this sounds great. Went home, talked to his parents, convinced his parents to drive out from Buffalo to Michigan to see campus. They came out. He fell in love with it even more. As they're leaving, Oliver's dad stopped me and he was like, Dave, tell you what, this is nice, but I'm really worried. I don't think we can pay for this. I'm like, I understand. I hear this all the time. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I need you to trust me. That right here, I need you to trust me. Get him to my job fair. That's the only thing that matters. Get to the job fair. Let me take care of everything else. So sure enough, Oliver came out to the job fair, and this is back when we were still doing these in person at the time. I always work the job fairs. It's my favorite day because I love seeing my kids get employed. It's kind of cool. Well, I was walking through the job fair and I saw Oliver against the wall and I was like, hey, how many companies have you talked to? How many resumes have you handed out? He's like, I've been to 5 or 6. I'm like, all right, cool. You see that company over there? I need you to go talk to them because one of the companies there, one of my graduates, he's one of my tour guides, was working for the company and they have him as a recruiter now at the company because he knows what to look for. He came through this program. I was like, he's over there right now. I need you to go talk to that company. Tell him I sent you, go over there. He did. About 2 weeks after the job fair, I get a call in my office. I answer the phone, I'm like, hello. It was Oliver's dad. He was like, hey, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, Oliver just got his job offer. I was like, oh, okay, it's gonna be a good conversation. I always get worried when parents start like that. And I was like, okay, so where's he working? He's like, well, he told me like during the fair, you told him to go talk to this company. I was like, oh yeah. He's like, they hired him. I'm like, it's a very good company. So I'm glad to hear that. It's like, what did they start him off at? He's like $15 an hour. And I'm like, that's good. And Oliver didn't have a job. So he went from 0 to 15. He's ecstatic. And the dad's like, I just have to call in thank you. I'm like, why? I mean, $15 an hour, standard starting salary. He's like, that's not it. They also gave him a 401k. I'm like, oh, okay, that's nice. He's got a matching 401k starting right out of the gate. He's like, that's not it. They're paying 20% of his tuition. That's why you're thanking me, isn't it? He's like, you just changed his life. Because we were going to send him to another school here in state. But when they said they were doing that, that just changed all the calculus for this. So yeah, Oliver loves me. His parents love me. Yeah, it's like, I see them every year. Everything changes when students start coming to the job fair and they start interviewing for real jobs. Now, can I say that every company is going to chip in money like that? No, but I have other companies that will do other things.
Yeah.
I've got an engineering company here that's probably about 20 minutes from campus. Small engineering company. They have 24, 25 employees. Of the 24, 25, 22 or 23 of them are Kettering alum. It's a 100% Kettering company. The founder is a Kettering grad. He only hires Kettering students.
Wow.
Here's the cool thing about it. Now, he will start his students at $14 an hour freshman year. Starting their sophomore year, they get profit sharing. This is a robotics company, and they are a big ticket thing. Small company, but they close $3, $4, $5 million projects.
Wow.
They have 25 employees. When you give profit sharing on a $5 million project, it is running over 25 people. Yeah. These kids are getting some mega bonuses. And it's like, yeah, I only get $14 an hour. However, next year.
Yeah.
So again, I tell parents, it's stressful. I just need parents to trust me. Now, every year I will say, I do get some students, we get down and the math might not shake out to where it needs to. I will be the first one to tell that student, tell you what, I'm going to have you over here. Like, if this doesn't make sense, I'm not going to try to put somebody out financially just to get you here.
Yeah.
Not that serious.
Yeah.
If you can't swing it, don't do it. But actually, sounds like Disney. I literally have a family I've been doing this with this morning. One of my kids from Detroit, who is a presidential student for our scholarship level, he's in the honors program. He just got another one of our huge scholarships. And his parents literally this morning reached out to financial aid. We're thinking about transferring in. I'm like, oh, no, you don't realize how much money he has on the table right now. And he just went to the job fair Monday. Trust me, wait it out until those offers start coming in. Because with all the scholarship money he's getting and his income, y'all are going to be paying for this anyway. He will be able to take care of 80% of his tuition just on his own.
Wow.
Parents never realize it. It does not get real until those offers are coming in.
Yeah. Yeah.
It never does. In the minute the dad or mom is sitting there, is like, GM? That's a letter from GM. They're going to hire you? Oh, you going here? It's just like, your kid is an engineer at GM, at Ford, at Toyota, like full-fledged engineer. And I have another one of my kids from Detroit. His dad's a cop down in Oakland County. And he told me, he's like, you know what sold it for me? We came to a tour campus and we were talking to our tour guide. And the tour guide worked at Ford. And he pulled out his ID and it said Ford engineer. He's like, it didn't say Ford co-op or Ford intern. It said Ford engineer. My son said, you're going to school here.
Yeah.
Here's this kid who's 20 years old. He already has a Ford engineer. He has an employee badge.
Yeah.
He's a real, he's like, you're going to school here. It doesn't get real until kids get to that co-op fair. They start interviewing. Those job offers start coming in. Changes everybody's perspective. Because all those other schools, lecture hall. Your kid's an engineer already, and he's getting paid, and you know he's going to have a job when he gets out of college. For a parent, that's the only thing you're trying to get these kids off your payroll.
Yeah.
You're trying to get off your payroll. It's like, I need my kid to be able to take care of himself.
Yeah.
And if you know that your kid can graduate college and he starts making $70,000 to $80,000 a year at 22 years old, it's the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I work here. It's the only reason I stay here.
Awesome program, David. Oh my goodness. Awesome program.
I love it. I do. So I love opportunities like this to share with other counselors and teachers and educators like that this exists. Like, there's another option.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost the academic version of skilled trades, apprenticeship programs. It's the academic version of that because
Absolutely.
they do the same thing. And the beauty of it is when you go to straight, college, university, yes, you are educated in that area, but it doesn't get real until you get in that position. And oftentimes, once you get in it, it's nothing like what you learned in the classroom. And so you kind of shrug your shoulders and go, well, what did I go through all of that for? Because I'm not utilizing any of it as far as actual application, because each position trains you how they want it done. It really is the best of both worlds, as far as preparing you.
What I tell students in the most colorful way possible, all the students, anybody listening to this right now, for all the educators, counselors, anybody listening to it, any students in the room, for my students, if you talk to your parents tonight, I need you to go home and ask mom and dad, hey, where did you learn how to do your job? For all my counselors in the room, where did you learn how to do your job? It wasn't at school. I can guarantee you that. It was not in that college classroom.
Yes.
Learn how to do your job at work.
Yes.
And that is why we have set this up. Is so for other schools that have a co-op program, it's almost thought of as like an ancillary product, like an add-on. Here, it's interwoven into the curriculum because we understand your work experience is just as valuable as your classroom knowledge. And technically, when you come to school here, you work more here than you do go to school.
Mhm,
You work for 2.5 years, you're only in academics for 2. Because we know it's about being in the environment. That's where you're going to learn it. And just like Alex, where these 3 graduates show up and the boss is like, I need you to teach them how to do their job. They were in a classroom. He's been doing it.
mhm,
He knows what he's doing.
mhm, mhm.
That's what it all comes down to. And I love to see these kids getting employed because, I mean, it's kind of humbling when I've got kids who make more money than I do and they only work 6 months a year. And I'm like, It's like, I led you to this water. It's okay.
I know. I know. It's like, okay, my call. I was meant to lead you.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I absolutely love it. I love it. And I love, like I said, the opportunities just to spread the wealth and the knowledge about this.
Yeah.
I spoke to another school in New Jersey Tuesday this week, and the teacher there was like, oh my gosh, like, how come I've never heard of this? I'm like, right? I'm like,
Absolutely. Thank you so much, David. It was an excellent presentation. You've got an awesome program. And for every student that is interested in science, technology, math, and engineering, I am going to send them your way.
thank you. I greatly appreciate it. And know they're in good hands.
Absolutely.
We do.
Absolutely. Thanks so much again for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you everyone for joining, and I wish you all a great afternoon and a great weekend.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Have a great weekend too.
Bye.
All right,
now.
take care.
Bye.
Don't forget to send me that info, Tony.
Not at all.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, David. That was excellent. You guys, oh my God. Where were you when I was in school?
Trust me. And again, I kick myself because my dad wanted me to come here so bad. And if I'd have come to visit this campus and hopefully would have met me, oh, I know I'd have been here. I know I would have been here because this just makes sense. And